Hey guys, welcome to Alpha Logic, where I review some of the best wisdom of all time. My name's Gabriel, and this week we're going to be reviewing the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by psychotherapist Dr. Nathaniel Branden. So the 6 pillars are as follows. You have the practice of living consciously, the practice of self-acceptance, the practice of self-responsibility, the practice of self-assertiveness, the practice of living purposefully, and the practice of personal integrity. Now, if you're having trouble in any of these areas and can't seem to get a grasp on it, I highly recommend that you guys seek professional help by a licensed therapist. I went to one for some time, but when I was really depressed, and she pointed me in the right direction, and it really did help a lot with my lack of self-confidence. So let's get right into explaining how to practice these 6 pillars. And notice I did say practice because this is something you will be working on for the rest of your life. There is no flipping of a switch to fix it. It's more like a dial that keeps getting brighter and dimmer as you progress in life. So the first pillar is the practice of living consciously. And what living consciously means is respecting reality, accepting what is, and not ignoring what isn't. If, for example, I have homework due the next day, but instead of doing my homework, I decide to watch TV for 5 hours and go to bed ignoring the homework, that won't make the homework go away. Living consciously and the third pillar, self-responsibility, go hand in hand. If you're overweight but decide to ignore that and instead eat whatever you want, the weight won't come off and you'll continue to get fatter and fatter, no matter how much you think you're actually progressing. The second pillar is the practice of self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is accepting where your faults lie and making a conscious decision to focus on the things that you have control over and that you can actually change. In order for self-improvement to be possible, you must first accept who and what you are. You see, we all have parts of ourselves that we dislike, and self-acceptance isn't about forcing yourself to like the parts that you hate, but instead to accept them for what they are. A really good question to ask yourself is, can I change this part of myself that I dislike? If the answer is yes, then ask yourself how. If the answer is no, then accept it for what it is, or suffer a hit on your self-esteem. I'm the type of person who hates being told what to do. Even as a kid, my mom would tell me to clean my room and I'd do the exact opposite and just play video games all day. Now, if I didn't accept that that's who I am, I wouldn't be able to change it. If I was in denial of the fact that I hate being told what to do, I'd live my life with the idea that I don't mind being told what to do, and I'd continue to do the exact same thing in the same manner like a crazy person expecting different results. Now, the third pillar is the practice of self-responsibility. And self-responsibility is similar to living consciously. It's about taking control over what happens to you on a day-to-day basis instead of just being reactive to everything in your life. Now, up until recently, I hated everything about myself and what I was doing. It affected the way I presented myself, the way I talked to people, and even made me anxious when people would ask me questions about myself because I felt like I didn't have anything going for myself. Now, it wasn't until I made a conscious decision to become the best version of myself that I began noticing a huge jump in my self-confidence. I was walking around with a smile on my face and my head up high instead of looking down at the ground. What I experienced was an increase of self-esteem. Self-responsibility is about making a conscious decision to chase your dreams and personal happiness instead of depending on others to make you happy. Instead of being happy only when people treat you good, you're happy even when people treat you poorly because you know that happiness is something internal. The fourth pillar is the practice of self-assertiveness. Self-assertiveness is about being willing to stand up for yourself when you're disrespected and to draw a line to a boundary of yours when it's been crossed. Now, you need to be careful with self-assertiveness because, as Nathaniel mentioned in the book, self-assertiveness without consciousness is simply rebelliousness and it's immature. That's something that I learned the hard way. When I first started learning about self-assertiveness, I felt like I had discovered some magic thing and began saying no to everybody. If my friends wanted to hang out with me, nope. If my boss wants me to have the papers finished by Tuesday, nope, I'll finish it Wednesday. One thing I've learned as I've gotten older is that once someone crosses your boundary and you've made the boundary clear, no matter who it is that crosses it, you've got to be okay with getting rid of that person from your life for good if they don't respect it and continue to cross it. This is for your own mental health and sanity. Now, self-assertiveness is a scary thing, especially if you come from a background of being walked on and not putting your foot down ever. However, it's crucial in your personal development as a human being, and it is a great skill that you require if you plan to be a leader one day. Let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever noticed yourself moving out of the way when people walk by you as if you have no right to occupy the space that you're walking? Now that's a sign of low self-esteem. If someone doesn't move out of your way when you walk, then you are showing submissiveness, and a lot of narcissistic people look for people with low self-esteem to abuse and toy with them. It's said that the universe brings people like that into your life so that you can practice being more assertive. Now, I'm not telling you to go around and start pushing people around just because you realize some new internal power that you have. But just realize that you have just as much right to walk where you walk as the person who's making you move. Now, don't take this to an extreme. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so pillar number 5 is the practice of living purposefully. Now, living without a purpose makes you a reactive person, drifting in the wind and hoping that one day you achieve what it is that you want. The practice of living purposefully means consciously forcing yourself to do the things that must be done to attain your goals. Self-discipline isn't something you do from time to time. It's something that you have to do every single day. If it's your current purpose to lose 30 pounds and you decide to eat chocolate cake for dinner and skip the gym, you're not living consciously or purposefully. If it's your life's purpose to become a lawyer and you drop out of school, you're living without a true purpose. At the same time, if your life's purpose is to become a famous musician and you're going to law school because it's what your parents want, you're also living without a purpose. I love the example of the airplane on course from Miami to New York. Did you guys know that the plane is off course 75% of the time? Meaning that the only way it arrives is through the pilot correcting it over and over again. This is similar to how we humans get from point A to point B being a goal we're trying to achieve. We constantly try to get our goals, but a lot of times we fall off. It's more important to correct your course when you fall off. It doesn't matter how many times you go off course. The important thing is that you correct it. Alright guys, so listen closely because this next one is important. There was once a man who was in his 60s, and when he was asked what goals he has for the rest of his life, he answered, I no longer have any goals for the future. All my life I lived for the future at the sacrifice of the present moment. Now I don't think or plan ahead, I simply live in the moment. This is one of the biggest takeaways that I got from The Power of Now, which you can watch by clicking the top right link of the screen. The point isn't to focus only on the future or to focus only on the present moment. The point is to live in the present moment because it's the only thing that actually exists, and periodically think about what it is you're trying to achieve in the future. That is what Eckhart Tolle's means by living in the present moment. What you don't want to do is focus solely on the future because that creates anxiety and is an example of living unconsciously. Now the 6th and final pillar is the practice of personal integrity. Now I know a guy who loves to talk with me about fitness and bodybuilding. He's always talking about how he only eats to fuel his body and that he never eats for flavor. He talks about how soon he's going to be shredded and have a six-pack. What he doesn't realize is that he's always eating cake and cookies when I look at him, and what he's eating is he primarily eats junk food and is totally not aligned with his words. Personal integrity is about matching your ideals with your actions. When we behave in ways that go against what we believe we should be doing, we take a hit to our self-esteem. A personal example of this is when I was doing my seasonal cut to drop some fat, I would talk about losing weight and how it's done, and even though I had all this great information, I still wasn't noticing any weight loss. After doing some analyzing, I realized that I was eating crappy food and skipping the gym. Tony Robbins says that knowledge isn't power, it's only potential power. It becomes power when you take action using that information. So here's just a few examples of how you can take action and practice personal integrity. One being putting in more effort at work, saying no when you don't want to do something, keeping your promises when you make them, not denying when you're angry at your partner, and telling people when they've pissed you off. Alright guys, so this has been the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. If you guys enjoyed it and are interested in purchasing it, which I highly recommend you do, there's a link in the description below. It is an affiliate link, so I do make some commission, but you don't have to pay anything extra. Be sure to subscribe for more and like the video if you guys got any value out of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.